Hello everybody, it's Phil the Miniature Model Maker coming to you with another stream. We are getting close to the all desired priming stage. But first, we have all of these parts and we have to clean them up. So off stream, I went through and because I had to repair the arm here, I had to drill holes and make a stand and use super glue to clean it up. I figured I may as well do some gap filling and things while I was at it, so I did. Now we're gonna go through here and clean up the kit. While we're doing this, let's just refresh my stream. So there we go. So I can see new people come in. And we have our timer and everything is a go. Fantastic. So first step we're going to do, just go through and clean up structural defects. Things that are misaligned, things that are sunken. Do all the big stuff, and if there are still gaps left over, we'll discover them when we prime, which is expected. I don't think that this process is going to be a once and done. There are going to be multiple steps to it, and that's okay. Just want to get the worst of it taken care of while we can here. Hello, visitor. How are you? Thank you for coming by. I am cleaning up my kit after doing the gap filling and was just talking about what I was doing. So, welcome, welcome. What brings you here today? All right. Do I need to zoom the camera in more? Would that be something worthwhile? I'm not sure I can, but we can try. And I may go past 60 minutes today. I may not. We will see. But let's see here. Webcam settings. Configure video. Camera control. Can we zoom in some more? There we go. Okay. And there we are. We're live and more able to see. So good. Cool. Now I just need to make sure that I don't go too far out of frame. I'm not used to having it this close. But it's cool that we can do that. It'll definitely be helpful when I'm scribing. Hello, visitor. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. What brings you here today? I just zoomed the camera in. Would you tell me if you can still see it okay? I am cleaning up a Gundam Artifact. It's the model 002, second model in the series, the EXS. Alright, well, maybe I should just be quiet when they come in. And just wait for folks to chat. Now, here's the trick. Just getting this excess CA glue off without ruining excuse me. Pardon me. Without ruining the connection. Well, that was not great. Okay, so now, well, we'll put this aside and go piece by piece, first with the knife. So why am I doing it in this order? Why have I not primed first or scribed first or what have you first before this? Two reasons for two different things. The scribing will come next, and then the priming. And why do multiple passes when I can just kind of do it all at once? That's a very good question. One, because that's how I want to do it. Two, the primer can make it harder to see certain details, easier to see others, which is why we're going to do it. It can make it more difficult to clean in some ways. So, like if I've got these big areas here where there's a large space, like difference, misalignment, I want to make sure that I get that cleaned up as much as I can before I get the primer on, in order to minimize issues. Then, it's kind of a high scale pass first, gross level work, high level work, and then go back through with the primer on it to do the actual detail stuff. That I found that works out better. And two, having primer on the model is going to gunk my sandpaper up faster. So if I can get this done more, get the scraping and stuff done, then I have less need to worry about losing the efficacy of my sandpaper when I go through it and use it. Because I am going to have to sand this. This knife is leaving quite a bit of texture on the plastic. It's not a... With as hard as I'm doing this, and as much as I'm trying to take off, it's not leaving a smooth surface. So it is going to need to be sanded and everything. Maybe even before priming. At least a little bit. And then the scribing. Well, I could leave that until after I've done the surfacing. So I shouldn't be saying priming, I should say surfacing, which is using either a surfacer or a primer to fill in little gaps. The little tiny micro scrapes that this knife is leaving, or the things that high grit sandpaper leave, and other types of minor surface variation that we don't want. So then when you do a pass with the higher grit sandpaper, after the surfacing, some of that surfacer will remain in those little things, gaps, and fill them in and leave you with a much smoother surface. And that is very important on these little kits, because even a 0.1 millimeter size detail, depth, detail, size, whatever, is big at this scale. Because a lot of the... let's take a look at this wing. Can we see? I can't get too close to my camera, unfortunately. There we go. So these details here are 0.1 millimeter across and maybe 0.1 millimeter deep. So even a half a millimeter can make a fairly large visual impact. And that's something we want to prevent and avoid, if and when at all possible. So we're just going through, cleaning up. It's kind of like with the GW kit. Their details tend to be pronounced, exaggerated, if you want to call it that, because those models are designed for painting. Having more exaggerated physical detail, the tail, helps a lot with painting and seeing them from a distance, which I've talked about extensively in many other past streams, so I'll kind of ignore that for now. And I'm not trying to get this perfect. Just as good as I can with a reasonable effort, and cleaning up any major issues. So back to the scribing part of it. Yes, I absolutely could do the surfacing and then sanding, and then scribe when the details are more easily viewable. And I tried that using a shade mix of my own devising of some just acrylic ink, so very, very, very high pigment, but also very small pigment particle size. And it worked great, but it also gunked up some of these panel lines, and actually made it harder to scribe because it was a physical barrier to the scribe, and they're high precision instruments, high precision tools. So even a little bit of that ink got in the way at first and made it noticeably more difficult to get the scribe through the space smoothly. So I want to avoid that with a primer that's going to be even harder. You know, it'll set and be there. It's meant to be tough. So I'm not going to do that at first. I'll do the process is going to be going through and hitting details that are already existing, and then looking through to see if there's anything else that I might need to add. If so, then I'll add it, and then we'll do the surfacing and sanding, because that will be the end point of this particular build until I get to painting. And I think I'm going to do one of the Zaku suits, one of the Xeon suits, painted first, since that became the icon for my channel. The little the profile pic. And it would be kind of, I think it'd be kind of cute to have one actually painted just like the mascot, the channel mascot there. So that's going to be my next project, and the first one to get fully painted. But there's also something that I think is pretty cool, and I might do with this guy. Because I do have another one that I've got stashed away to work on and do different things with. It might be cool just to leave the what primer remains on it and then coat it with an enamel wash and call it good. You know, remove it, let the panel lines be panel lines and everything, but let it be this color only tinted with by the wash. Because I've seen people do that, and that looks really neat. Okay, that's good. Alright, and you need to go back so I don't lose track of you. These little guys are going to have to be scribed independently, and that's going to be a fun process to watch for all you sadists. Or a fun project for all of you sadists to watch. But you know, it's gonna be really cool when it's done. It'll feel great to have that part taken care of. Oh my god, Phil, why are you using your knife? You've got scribing tools. Because there's glue. And the knife just works better for glue. We can use the scribes for their better purpose of cleaning that out now that the glue is gone. Besides, there's no need to put wear on them if I don't have to, right? Good scribes aren't exactly cheap. So I want to take care of the tools. You know, I'm one of those people that learn the lesson: buy the best tool you can, and then take care of it, and it'll treat you well for life. You know, if all you can afford at the time is the cheapo version, and it's cost effective for you to buy them multiple times rather than, you know, you can afford $10 every few months versus 50 at one time, then that's great. It works. You know, I'm that way with other things in my life that aren't that like shoes. Whatever. I'm not a big shoe person. Shoes are just something I put on my feet to be able to go into stores and not step on nails and stuff. So a cheaper pair of shoes that gets replaced every 6 months is just fine with me, instead of a pair of shoes that costs 5 times that and only lasts a couple years. You know, maybe $300 isn't something I can afford and won't be able to afford for a while. So even saving up might not be a viable option. It happens. I've been there in life. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you can make your tools work for you in the way you want, great. I just am thankfully at the point where I can maybe afford to put a little bit more into tools, knowing that they're going to last for a long time. That doesn't mean I've bought the highest of the highest end either. That's not always a benefit. Sometimes you just pay quite a bit extra for a name on it. That does happen. Added value is what that's called. You're adding the value of having a brand name. And to me, that's not always value. So with that all said, I guess if you ever see me taking a tool sponsorship from one of those people out there who makes and sells, or sells, even if they don't make it directly themselves, tools for modeling, you'll know that it's something that I stand by and believe is quality. Because I wouldn't recommend, at this point, I wouldn't use a janky tool just because it was given to me for free when I have when I have better ones that I spent my own money on. So that tool would have to be better, or at least equivalent quality to what I've got now. And yes, this little blade here may look kind of janky and not high quality, but it's exactly the tool I need for what I'm trying to accomplish. And sometimes, as you'll see with my scribes, even lower quality tools have a benefit to them. That, maybe the higher end ones don't have. The higher end ones might be so purpose built and absolutely excel in one thing, but pardon me, but not have unexpected benefits. Kind of like this little knife. I got this specifically to be, cutting along large panels, not as a scraper when I had been using this for years and years and years. However, I found that for some purposes, this blade is even better. And even the cheap ones, even the cheap blades, because of how they're made and what I'm going to use it for, are exactly what I want. Like these blades are punched out. They're not hand forged, not hand ground. They're punched out by the bajillions, and that leaves kind of a hook edge on part of it. Well, that hook edge just happens to be really good for taking out, scraping off plastic like really hard. If there's something I have to get really aggressive with, that edge there just makes it work even better. That's why this blade is so good. It still has its fresh, and that little quote-unquote defect hasn't worn off yet. It will be soon. I can feel it. But it's not yet. And then back to scribing yet again, because I'm seeing an example of it. I want to do this scraping first because I'm removing some of a mold line, a molded detail that's going to need to be fixed, and I'd rather fix it, do it once after I've gone through all of this, than to do it and then do this body work and then have to go back and do it some more. That's true mostly for these larger details. The little tiny ones, I will probably have to at least run a couple passes just so I can see it once. I don't actually make it completely go away. I want to be able to know that it's there and fix it after the cleaning. These guys being an example. Good enough. And if you will excuse me one moment, I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Now let's do the part that I've been looking forward to, but also kind of dreading. So this thing has tons and tons and tons of tiny detail. But it also had some pretty big gaps along the way that I'm going to have to balance excuse me, the benefits of scraping this away, removing all the glue that I put on, and then describing. And I'm thinking, excuse me, there are some lines on here that are important enough to keep, and a lot of them aren't. They're just little tiny mean nothing details. That, you know, when you're doing the that when you're putting these together and maybe just panel lining the plastic, it would look great. This is actually something for the file. And are you an even surface? Yes, you are. Or I should say, are you a flat surface? Yes, you are. So we'll get the majority of this off with the file, because I used a gel CA glue and not not a less viscous one, a more liquid version. So it dried in big clumps. Then now I can just take my flat blade here and just shave down. So I'm not really cutting, I'm just shaving. And using this blade saves my good ones for future work. Because right now all I need to do is get the excess off. And then we can use the good tools for the detail work later. And a ½ cent piece blade is a whole lot better than the God hands from Japan. Okay, there's that. Let's just gently scraping, gently scraping. And I don't think I'm going to be getting all of this off. I may, I might. I think I may, I think I might have the wish I wish tonight. That's pretty good. Okay. Not bad, not bad. I'm pretty pleased with that. But this glue did not work how I wanted, but I had it, and it's decent CA glue, so I wanted to try it. And then after talking to the folks that made the ABS cement I got, they said there isn't a way to thin it or retard the curing time, slow down curing time. So I'm going to have to use that for very specific purposes and at very specific times. I think it's still useful, still usable, but I may just go end up getting some of that MadWorks black CA glue, because I used a surprisingly tiny amount. I expected I would have to use a lot more to gap fill this thing. So maybe the price that they're asking for it is worth it for the purpose of gap filling. And maybe trying one of the other black CA glues for putting together, assembling might be fine, or I could just keep using this Tommy Extra Thin. I just have to remember to be more careful with it than I have in the past. Alright. That's pretty much done. Maybe. I watched one of the Ray Studio shorts, and now I have that silly little song, like that's super 70s Japanese. It might be from Gundam. I don't know. But yeah, super 70s Japanese, and it's stuck in my head. Alright, I am going to just touch this a little bit with sandpaper, and I have 600 grit on all of my tools right now. And I only put it near the very tip, because there's no real point there. It's always wearing off in this distance or that distance from the edge on these little models, at least. So that's where I will leave it and save a bit on sandpaper. Okay, and you. Alright, now here is where we're about to pull out the fancy tools, because they're the only thing that'll work for what I need them to do. Because there's glue in this depression. Now let's hope. Let's hope. That's 1 mil. No. So we're actually going to use the cheaper ones. Because they come in slightly different sizes. And won't cause massive issue with the internal part that I'm trying to clean up. And again, I'm just taking the glue out, and that's all I'm really trying to do. So the little bit cruder file chisels, as I call them, are perfectly acceptable options. And in this case, have multiple benefits. There we go. But I am going to use the God Hand 0.5 mil to clean this out. Smooth it out and everything. There we go. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. Am I still on stream? Still on camera? There we go. I need to get another sticker so I know where to center my hands. Anybody want to send me a Principality of Xeon sticker? Alright. Here we are. V-cuts are a good friend for these little kits. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. I just wish I had a microscope like the folks over at MadWorks do. That's always funny to watch him pull that thing out and inspect the work at the microscopic level. Now these legs, boy, these legs had seams all the way up. All the way up the entire thing. And there's stuff I can't get to down in there. So we're just going to do a big, fat, massive, coarse scrape. And then come back through. And I also have to accept that some detail will be lost. And that's really okay by me. I don't mind there being some things going away as long as the rest of it is good. Now, it's more important for me to have smooth surfaces than to have tiny little details in this leg section there like there is now. And be careful when you're using a file on this plastic. It is very soft. So I'm really only lightly running it over the surface of the CA glue to even that out. And then the pressure is very, very slight. There we go. Now I'm feeling it biting a little bit more. So I'm stopping. That surface is pretty smooth for all intents and purposes. And we're going to do the same with this. Except extra careful because there is already exposed plastic. So I'm going to use my triangle one instead. That'll let me get up here in this corner and kind of enhance that a bit. Then we're going to use the knife to smooth it out a bit. And gently remove burrs. There we are, and leave the rest for sandpaper. well, now this side of the leg got pretty well taken care of by the cement, the Tamiya cement, but there was slight misalignment, slight unevenness, and the knife alone, or this blade alone, will handle that as long as I'm gentle with it. And maybe even sandpaper, because running the blade over this, I feel very little resistance. And it's the resistance that is the imperfection. Ah, there we go. Okay. That's lovely. This poor bit up here, though, we're kind of in dire straits. And not just the Sultans of Swing. I may have to accept a certain level of imperfection on the inside of this crazy knee thing. We'll see. Because I don't think I have tool good enough to actually do things on it the way they need to be done. Which is kind of a bummer. So I might just fill the entire thing in with the Mr. Surfacer and forget there was ever detail on the back of that leg. That would be it'd be easier to handle, for sure. Alright, and you. And yes, I am kind of crazy for doing this, I know. But you'd do it on your master grade, wouldn't you? On your perfect grade? On your real grade? Well, from what I hear from other people with more hands-on experience with the scale Gunpla, for their size, these things have as much detail as a master grade. So they're my version of a master grade. Which means I'm taking my time. And go a little bit a little bit extra. Because I really do love these artifacts. Really do love them. Even that ugly old GM Thunderbolt. Fugly Jim. I still love him. He's just not my favorite child. And we all know parents do have their favorites no matter how much they say they don't. Maybe I'll play a joke and paint it with a red head so it'll be the red-headed stepchild of my collection. Actually, I think that's kind of funny, the more that I think about it. Red-headed Jim. I wonder where that saying the red-headed stepchild came from. Is that having somewhat disparaging connotations from Old England when the Irish and Scots weren't exactly liked or were second-class citizens? That may be worth looking up. Okay, let's get our fingers out of the way here. When possible, everybody, always use plastic as the barrier between your fingers and the blade. It's safer that way. Okay. Oh, look at that. 1 hour and 4 minutes, and we are pretty much done with this piece. That was some crazy good timing. Look at that. I didn't even plan it that way. Oh, well, we're going to get one more part here. I'm claiming 15 minutes of buffer from a stream. I did a short stream I did earlier today. So my hour time per video, per stage, is still valid. Cough, cough, cough. Right. Okay, that's done. Thank you guys for watching. I will catch up with you in the next one. We're going to continue with this detailing. Once it's done, I will prime it off stream, let it sit. I may have to really push on this, because I prefer to let primers sit for 24 hours. But then again, this primer is not going to be staying on here for very long, so I might not. I might just give it a couple hours to properly dry. Thanks, guys. I will see you all later in a different video. Remember, this is a hobby. If it doesn't